Hey, what's up, people? So, this isn't a video that I was intending to make at this point in time. I had actually wanted to start working on another video, but while I was trying to make sure that everything was going to work out smoothly and everything, I hit a snag. And I'd like to try to see if I can fix it today, and then I can start working on another video. But if you saw the video that I did or that I posted up just recently, where I had bought this Atari Light Sixer 2600 off eBay, and I wanted to test it out. I mentioned that I connected the RF output directly into a capture card that's identical to this one that's currently installed in my PC. I connected the output from the console into the coax input. But not only that, I also made a quick mention about how I was going through a splitter. And so it was this splitter that I've got sitting on the bench connected to all these cables. And so the output of the console went into the input. One of the outputs goes into my small Sony 9-inch Trinitron that I've got just hanging up above the bench. The other side goes to the capture card, and so that works pretty well. I don't really have any complaints about this setup, and there doesn't really seem to be very much like signal degradation or anything. I wanted to actually have something where I didn't have to worry too much about whether or not the incoming signal was a bit on the weak side. And so what I did is I had bought this used, it's an Archer branded, that's Radio Shack if you're not familiar with it, RF amplifier. And so I wanted to have this permanently installed underneath my bench so that I could have the input, which would be this cable, going into the input of the amplifier. And then I could split off the output, one to go to the TV and one to go to my capture PC. And that way I didn't have to worry about whether or not the signal was too weak coming in, and then having two devices loading it down to cause the signal to degrade and then everything else looking kind of bad. So I had already mounted this amplifier underneath my bench, and I had all these connections connected straight to it. And when I first tested it out, it was working great. Like the signal to the TV, the signal to the capture card, everything was nice and clean, and I was really happy with it. And so I thought everything was settled, and I had my setup that I wanted, and everything was cool. Well, not exactly. Like I mentioned, I was about to start working on a different video, and I was trying to make sure that the signals coming out of this were still, good. Everything was connected properly. Everything was clean. And as it turns out, there seems to be something up with the amplifier. And I'm kind of leaning towards maybe bad capacitors. I'll demonstrate what's going on, and then maybe we'll open this up and see if we can take a look and see what's going on. Maybe we can fix it. So I've got a bit of a setup going on where we can test these things out. So like I mentioned, this thing's already connected to an outlet. If I touch this side of the amplifier, it feels a little bit on the warm side. It's not crazy warm, but I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a small transformer that's riveted to the case. This thing looks like it's going to be easy to open. It doesn't sound like it's potted inside. It sounds kind of hollow. So hopefully it's not a big deal to open it. But yeah, let me demonstrate what exactly is going on. And just real quick before I get started, before I get comments telling me that I have a bunch or too many connectors, or that these cables are the improper cables and all that stuff, this works just fine. And these cables, I have reason to believe that they are probably, even though they look like they're just regular audio cables, I have a feeling that they're actually RG59 in disguise, and they've just had some RCA plugs attached to the end of them. I wanted to take them apart to verify for sure, but unfortunately I cannot unscrew the end from the shell, and I don't want to grip it too hard with pliers or anything to cause these to break, because like I said, they are working totally fine. And at one point I did compare these cables to known similar cables that were stranded, and these by far outperformed those other ones. The signal being transmitted through these cables was way cleaner than the stranded ones. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that these cables are probably not stranded. And also, the only reason why I'm using these two cables with RCA ends on them is because I didn't have any like RG6 or RG59 cables with F-type ends crimped on them or anything that were short enough. I only have like some really long ones. I have ordered some compression fittings because I ran out that I can use to make some new cables where I can have the F-type end where I can like screw them in directly into the like these right angle plugs, which I would like to use because that way I don't have them coming straight into like this or the amplifier and then just kind of dangling down and making sharp bends or anything. The only other thing on here that's a little bit dodgy is this compression fitting and this RG59 cable. The RG59 cable doesn't exactly completely fill in the compression fitting, so it's not the greatest fit, but it seems to be making really good contact and it works pretty well. So yeah, like I said, none of this appears to be an issue or a contact issue between any of the connectors. With all that, let me demonstrate what it actually looks like just being connected the way that it is now. So here's how stuff is connected. I'm actually using the RF output from the 3DO set to channel 3, and that's this connector. This is just an RCA that I've put on the end of this RG59 cable. It's just going back there because it's kind of long, so I just wanted to kind of tuck it in so I don't have a bunch of wires sitting here on the bench. And that just comes in, goes into the input, and as I already mentioned, we have this white one going off to the TV. We got the red one going into my capture card. So if we actually look at what the output of the TV looks like, I have a webcam aimed at it. So it's a little, we can see a little bit of banding and stuff. I don't think that's, let me see, wiggle these around a bit. It seems to help maybe a tiny bit, but I actually think that this little Trinitron TV probably needs some capacitors replaced at this point. It does a few little funky things with the image sometimes that's not related to like input signal. So, I mean, that's about as good as an image as I can capture with a camera. If we look at the capture from the capture card, that's what that looks like. So, I mean, it's not crazy detailed or anything, but then again, we're capturing RF. We're not doing like HDMI or anything like that digital. So, it's not bad. This is fine. Okay, so now let's take a look at what the amplifier is doing, and let's do it Brady Bunch style. Anyway, so I've got the splitter on the bench, and I'm going to take the amplifier now and basically transfer everything over to the amplifier. So that there is the 3DO, this is the TV, and this is the capture card. So as you can see on the TV, the signal got really bad, and I'm trying to make sure that these are all pushed down all the way. Yeah, so it's like really grainy now. On the capture card, it doesn't look too bad. It looks a little bit grainy. Let's go to the other view so we can get a closer look at it. There we go. So yeah, you can see, especially in the dark areas, that it looks a little bit more grainy. And if we look at the TV, we can see that it looks absolutely horrible. So if I take the cable going to the capture card out, the TV improves a little bit, but it's still not great. You can still see that there's like some graininess going on. So, and if I put let's get the capture back on. There we go. So now if I remove the TV and I plug in just the capture card, yeah, it looks a little bit better, but there's still some graininess going on, so it's not good. It almost seems like the capture card is a little bit more sensitive. Right there in the dark, you can see some of the graininess. So, yeah, we'll open up the amplifier and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on. And just to show that it's not a problem with the right angle adapters, I've connected everything, I mean, as much as I can, because these still have to go through the adapter, directly to the amplifier. And if we take a look at the video quality on that, we see that the TV still looks terrible, and the AverMedia capture card still looks grainy. So, yeah, that pretty much just leads me to believe that it's going to be a problem with the amplifier. And we got these two rivets, one on each side, but they're really soft material, so it looks like I can just squeeze on the edge of that. And I should be able to pull it out from the opposite side. I don't really know what the purpose of these is. They're really loose to begin with, so not exactly the most secure thing. So I don't even need I don't even think I need to squeeze them all that much, just enough so I can grab it from underneath on the opposite side, like that. There we go. Those came out. And now we've got some tabs that are holding the outer shell to this bottom plate. So I'm just going to lift up on those, and I think that should allow it to come apart. So let's see. Here we go. Got 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. So let's separate these two. There we go. It just popped out. Ah, there it is. So definitely got 2 electrolytics. I suspect that those are probably going to be the problem. That's the transformer I was talking about. Looks like the neutral line goes from, it goes to this crimp cap one and goes to the transformer. And then we've got it also being crimped onto the, actually it looks like it's soldered. Yeah, it's soldered to this tab. And so it's kind of grounded out that way. So looks like if I remove these nuts from this side, I can pull the board out. We'll remove those capacitors and see what sort of condition they're in. I don't see anything else that looks obviously problematic. And I mean, the amplifier is sort of working. It just doesn't seem to be working all that great. There's one diode. I'm going to guess that that's probably the rectifier. So yeah, I'm going, well, let's see, maybe I can just, I'll go get a socket for this. All right, so this is working. Just going to loosen them all up and remove them. Okay, all those are out. See if I can push this out. Okay, there's the board. So the way they've got this on there, looks like the tabs are just soldered straight onto the board. Let me zoom in on that. There we go. Those look like they're intact. Yeah, the PCB itself, I don't see any issues. None of these look like they are problematic, at least contact-wise. So let's pull off. This is a 35 volt, 100 microfarad capacitor. This one is 35 volt, 47. I think I have some that I can use to replace these if they are bad. Well, let's take them out and test them first and see what we get. Whoa, wait a second. I just realized that this wire wasn't attached to anything. I didn't see where it came from. I think it must have been this terminal. Could it be that that wasn't soldered on properly, or it was just loose and so it wasn't working very well? That could also indicate why this was having an issue. If the amplifier is not really doing much amplifying, then that's definitely going to be a problem. Yeah, so we'll check the capacitors, and then I'll resolder this wire to that terminal. I think that's probably where we're supposed to go. I'll have to review the footage. I didn't see it. So this is the 100 microfarad capacitor. The capacitance value actually seems pretty good, tested at 120 hertz. Let's see what the other one says. Okay, the 47 microfarad one, it's saying 48, which seems a bit on the high side, kind of suspect there. I'm wondering if it's got some leakage going on internally, like electrical leakage. So, well, let me see if I've got some new capacitors. I can stick those in and solder the, or like, I don't know, kind of having a hard time deciding what to do here. I could stick these back on, solder that wire, and see if that fixes everything. Or while I'm in here, I can just swap out the capacitors. Okay, so I do have some 35 volt 47 microfarad capacitors, so I can replace the small one. The other one, I have 100 microfarad 50 volt. I don't have anything lower. And these are both, let's see, Rubicon. Yeah, these are both Rubicon capacitors. I tested them both, and they don't measure anywhere near as high as the original ones did, like capacitance-wise. So yeah, I'm wondering if these are just electrically leaky. One thing that I kind of noticed is that this one, the 100 microfarad one, is rated for 35 degrees C. I thought maybe it was a typo or a misprint or something, but no, that looks like a 3. I don't think I've ever seen a capacitor that was labeled 35 degrees C. This one is labeled 85. So, I don't know. Thought that was kind of interesting. So, yeah, I'll just pop these in. I'll make sure that that wire is soldered properly to that crimped on lug there. And after that, I'll put it all back together. I mean, that's probably going to be like the best way to test this anyways, to make sure that everything is properly grounded and all that. I'll also touch up all of these ground lugs on the terminals, just to make sure that they've got plenty of ground. This one there looks like it's just barely holding on. So I'll make sure that they're all nice and the solder like well flowed on there. And then I'll put it back together, trying to be careful not to accidentally mess up that inductor there. I'm sure that's been tuned. You can see it's kind of had a little bit of separation. And so, yeah, try not to mess that up. Okay, and just finishing up the transformer wire to that eyelet. That's the term I was looking for, eyelets. Okay, so that's a much more secure connection. I also flowed the opposite side to where it's sort of it's rolled over. That didn't look like it was soldered, but except for like in a small area. So I made sure that the entire thing is completely soldered on there now. I also touched up all the grounds, and that looks a lot better. Looks like we're going to have a more solid connection to all of those grounds. I think, let's see, all the center pins look, well, see, that's what I mean. It looks like they didn't flow solder completely around the edge of those eyelets. So maybe I should go through and just touch them all up, make sure that solder flows all throughout. See, like right there. Yeah, while I'm in here, I might as well. All right, so I've got everything reflowed. I don't think there should be any concerns with regard to bad solder joints or anything like that. Everything looks pretty good. So I'm going to reassemble it, and we'll test it out again. Click. All right, got them all tightened down, and I got everything restuffed into the case. Now I just need to put the back casing back on. I won't tighten it or bend these back down just yet. I'll just kind of push the case back on like that. All right, let's see what it does. Okay, I plugged the cord back into an outlet, but I haven't connected anything just yet. So this is going to capture card. This is going to TV. And this is going to 3DO, and it still looks like crap. Oh, let me bring it up. So that's the TV. What in the world is going on then? See, if I disconnect the capture card, it seems to clean up. I don't get it. Let's see, what does the AverMedia capture look like? That still looks okay. Actually, it looks maybe a little bit cleaner. Let's see, I'll disconnect the TV. Yeah, it gets a little bit fuzzier when I hook up the TV. But when I disconnect it, it seems to clean up a little bit. So, yeah, it's still not working properly. Wait a second. The TV actually looks really good right now. Oh. Sort of. Okay, as I wiggle it around, it seems to come and go, like right there. It got worse. So maybe it wasn't even something to do with the capacitors. Okay, maybe there's still something wrong on the board. Oh, check that out. Tapping it makes it change. Totally hunting down the wrong thing. All right, let's see. I'm just going to pop the bottom open. Let's see if we can figure out what's causing problems. So I'm going to try to not move it too much. And all these rapidly changing images isn't helping. All right, let's see. I'm just going to gently touch around on the board. Whoa, really? Look at this. If I do that. Yeah, it's not what I thought it was. Uh-oh, I think I found the problem. Ah, check that out. That looks like a 400 and... Oh, wait, you can't see it. Sorry. Here, let's bring back the Brady Bunch view. Okay, so let's zoom in on this one. Check this out. See that resistor? Check this out. I think that resistor might be bad, or it's got a bad solder joint. Not sure which yet. Let me see. I need a little plastic tool or something. All right, I got something that I can use to kind of direct the force a little bit better. So if I touch this capacitor, that doesn't seem to affect anything. If I touch this resistor, oh, screen just went black. Okay, there we go. So if I mess with this resistor, all right, now it's not doing it. That one, no change, nothing. I mean, that's the capacitor I just replaced. I know those solder connections are good. Let's touch the inductor just gently. Nothing. Capacitors. There's got to be something wrong with this resistor, because that's what I was messing with, and that's what was making it totally freak out. And now it's not. It is warm. I think it's going to be this small transformer on the end. Nope, it's not affecting anything. And the image quality now it looks pretty good. So whatever I was doing in here got it working better. Oh, I think the lead from that capacitor was sort of touching that resistor. Let's see if I push down on it, because I did lift it up a little bit. There it is. Yep, look, that makes it look just like it did before I started messing with it. That's it right there. It was just those two leads were just to the point where they were just barely touching, and that's what's causing problems. So if I lift up the capacitor to move it completely out of the way of the other lead of that resistor, that cleans up the signal. That, I mean, that definitely looks way better. All right, so I'm guessing what happened is from this thing sitting down there and just being plugged in, that resistor got warm. It must have just been like just to the point where a little bit of heat expansion caused it to start touching that capacitor, and that's what started causing problems. So I guess I wouldn't have even had needed to replace those capacitors, because it looks fine now. Okay, so this is definitely working much better that I separated the two pins from that resistor and the capacitor. The only thing I'm noticing now is that if I disconnect the capture card cable, the TV cleans up a little tiny bit. And I think that that's some sort of noise that's being introduced from the capture card, because I actually tried it with the splitter by itself just to see if I would notice it, and I do. So that doesn't seem to have anything to do with the amplifier. That just seems that something's going on whenever I connect the capture card. But it's very, very, very minor. It's like really kind of hard to notice unless you know exactly what you're looking for. All right, well, that's going to do it. I got it all closed back up. And so the problem was totally not what I expected it to be. But I mean, at least it seems to be working the same as it was when I first received it. So it's going to go back underneath the workbench, and I'm going to connect everything permanently to it again. So yeah, that's it. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see you guys around the bench.